Hello and welcome to today's episode of Dream Business, Dream Life. Today I'm joined by Nicola Noel. Nicola is the founder of Brainworks Therapy, an online private medical health clinic. She's an award-winning specialist psychiatric nurse, solution-focused hypnotherapist, and mindset coach. Nicola is making huge waves right now in the world of mental health awareness, and I am super excited to be chatting with her today. Hello, Nicola. How are you?
Hello, Emma, lovely. I am good, thank you. How are you?
I am good, good. I'm super excited for this conversation. Super, super excited. So let's dive straight into this. Tell us a little bit about you, who you are, why did you start your business?
So, who am I? So, as you've heard, I'm Nicola Noel. Why did I start my business? So this is going to get deep real quick. So I started my business, or rather, in the world of mental health and therapy, because of my own experience with domestic violence and childhood essay. So the childhood essay led to vulnerabilities in myself, which then led on to me choosing relationships that resulted in domestic violence. And then there was one particular incident that took me to A&E, and then the way that I was treated by staff in A&E, I then decided that I could do better and would do better. And I then went on to become a mental health nurse. So at the time, I was an award winning makeup artist. And then you couldn't get any further away from that. And I became a mental health nurse. And then as time's gone on, I've progressed and sideways moved into therapy as well. So, about me, I have worked in specialist psychiatric care for over 2 decades. So I've gone from perinatal psychiatry, which is mother and baby, all the way to forensic and judicial. So, you would know that as work in prisons, police cells, anywhere along the criminal justice system, you will find me managing caseloads of people who have mental health, whether it be the worried well or severe and enduring. And then a lot of that time I spent managing the care of the UK's most notorious criminals and murderers within the criminal justice system.
Wow. I mean, that is a change, isn't it? From makeup artist to psychiatric nurse helping murderers, you know? It's like a complete couldn't be further apart, couldn't be further apart. But what you said there, I think there's quite a thread there with a lot of situations that we see, isn't it? Because I suppose it's a learned behavior, isn't it? That we experience something traumatic in our childhood or in a lifestyle that we then go on and sort of put ourselves into more scenarios to make that happen again. It's a bit of a strange one, that one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a perfect storm essentially. So even though these situations and the behaviour that we're doing or might be shown is risky, it's because that's what we know maladaptively as our safe space. So we will put ourselves back in those situations because we only know that as a safe space.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's the same in business, isn't it? A lot of our business, our listeners here are business owners. And I think that's the
Mhm.
same in business, isn't it? And I think my own personal story was a prime example of that. Something that happened to me in childhood made me behave in the way that I behaved in my business that affected my mental health. But I did that because I was going back to where I was as a child.
Yes.
So I think our mental health can be affected in business the same as it can in personal life, can't it?
100%. And mental health and mindset has a lot to answer to in business. So, what you'll find is, and what I find at the moment, is when you use the word mental health, when you use the word PTSD, trauma, people give you a wide berth. They know they've got issues, but they're like triggered trauma, nothing to do with me. You say to them, I'll help you make 100K in 6 months. They'll be on it, not realizing that 80% of that work that is going to be done is going to be on mindset, mental health, how you look after yourself. Because that's the cornerstone to everything. That's cornerstone to you showing up in your business, to you getting more clients through the door, for or putting yourself out there to sell more products, or being authentically you, or connecting with, because the why is 99.9% of the time personal, somewhere along the line. And that's how you've got to connect. And to connect, you've got to put yourself out there. And to put yourself out there, you've got to have the mindset.
Yeah,
So,
completely, completely. And I always find it interesting that conversation between what is the difference between mindset and mental health. And I don't know what
yes.
your take on it is, but I think people are more open, especially in the business world. It might be different
Mm,
in the the consumer world, but in the business world, people are more open to say I can help you with your mindset because they're thinking exactly what you said. That's going to help me to make 100K. But if you say to them I can help with your mental health, they're more likely to scroll past your posts. Yet technically, as you're saying, that's the same thing. Am I right? Am I understanding that correctly?
yeah. So we say generally there's a difference between like everybody's um got mental health, but has everybody got mental well-being? But then, that's semantics and it potato potato. If we're talking about how the layman understands it, it's the same stuff. I'm just dressing it up to make it more um palatable. And I guess I didn't realize until I got into business, until I started to talk about it and then watch how my marketing was doing or wasn't doing, how much people avoid this conversation. Because everybody's like, oh, do you need to talk more about mental health, and we need to say its name and talk about it. I literally had to go through my marketing and do things like, uh, what other ways can I talk about trauma, PTSD without using those words? Cannot use those words.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think also that when when you say the word trauma, I think people assume that something major has got to have happened to you to mean that you've
Yes.
got that trauma. So
Yeah.
domestic abuse, some sort of violence, some sort of grief, loss, something like that. There's got to be something major that's happened to you to actually be traumatized. Whereas I now realize how I behaved in my business and how that affected my mental health and all of that sort of stuff was because something that traumatized me as a child. Yet it was
Yeah.
technically the simplest things. It was just somebody telling me that I'd never be successful, basically. And that is
Mm.
what that trauma, which I now realize is a trauma, it did traumatize me in a way. But I would never ever have said to anybody when I was going through all of that if I saw something that said I can help you heal from trauma or whatever, I would have just gone, I haven't been traumatized. I haven't gone through grief or abuse or anything like that. So I think it's just our understanding outside of the medical world, perhaps, as to what that word means.
Yes. Yeah. And breaking it down and make it understandable. Because I think sometimes within our professions, what we're guilty of is speaking and delivering content or training or whatever. Like we're speaking to our peers, and we're not, because the people that who need us, that's not where they're at.
No. No, it's understanding the language, isn't it? The language that is normal to you isn't necessarily normal to people like me who haven't got the training and everything that sits behind them. And it's interesting you said that because out of all of my clients, and I work with lots of different people,
Mhm.
a few of which are therapists or in the that sort of feel, so to speak. And the
Mhm.
one thing they all struggle with most is the marketing. And that's
Yeah.
because of the messaging, isn't it? It's because of hitting the spot in terms of what they do is amazing and it gets the results, but getting the people to actually understand that's what they need, unless they talk about mindset. But I don't know if you're in that camp, Nicola, but a lot of people who are actual therapists
Mhm.
don't always sit comfortably talking about the word mindset because it's therapy that they help with, or positive psychology, or it's more than mindset, isn't it? In a
Yeah,
way.
yeah. And I think that's the thing, because that's when we get really God, you got me in my soapbox. Some people are gonna hate
Get
me,
on
but
that
you know what?
soapbox. Come on.
I'm just gonna say, I'm just gonna be real. Right, okay. So the people who struggle with exactly what you said are the people who have qualifications over qualifications, who literally, you say to them, what's your qualifications? And they get their little scroll out and then they walk along and that scroll pulls behind them because it's that long. What we aren't is Udemy. We didn't get our qualifications off Udemy. So no disrespect to any, and I've got mindset coaching on, but obviously for a reason. No disrespect to any mindset coaches out there, but really, come on. Because there's so many people out there who don't have the qualifications, who don't have the experience, who don't have the knowledge, and they're like, I'm a coach. And you're like, you couldn't coach a cockroach. Stop it. You don't have the qualifications. And so that's where we get really, where we're like, where we find mindset a bit flimsy, because like myself, when you've done, over 2 decades worth of, training, of experience, when you've like, I've looked at the ins and outs of neuroscience, still learning, I don't know everything, I'm not Google. And when you've put your time behind learning, so different modalities. So I do CBT, NLP, DBT, solution focused brief therapy, solution focused hypnotherapy. And then you get somebody who's in a 10-week course saying, I'm a therapist or a counselor. You're like, sit down.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, that couldn't coach a cockroach. Can't even say it. Never mind. That tickled me pink. Sorry, that was the funniest phrase ever. I've not heard that one before, but I absolutely love that. But I think that's the thing, isn't it? I didn't realize until quite recently, as in the last couple of years or so, that
Mm.
therapy wasn't as regulated as I assumed it would be. That people can call themselves a therapist if they are not a therapist. You know what I mean? They've just took a box. They've done, like you say, a course off Udemy or somewhere like that.
Yeah.
They could still then. I didn't realize that, to be a therapist, I assumed that meant you'd been to uni, got the degree, or, whatever it is you needed to do,
Yeah.
like a doctor, like a nurse, you've got the time
Yeah.
served stuff. I didn't realize that that wasn't the case and that wasn't particularly regulated.
Yes, there's parts of it that aren't. So for us ones that I work for, Soul, will be part of, oh God, I always get this wrong now, so don't nobody shoot me out there. But like it's B cap BC B
BACP,
cap
BACP.
that
Yep,
that's the one.
yep,
Or or like the health, or there's different ones, but they'll
yep,
be actually registered with them. So for
yep,
me, I spend a mortgage worth on stuff. So I obviously am still on the register, as so you can find me on the NMC people. So I'm on the NMC register, then the Association for Solution Focused Therapists, then the National Council of Health, um, and so forth. So it's looking for people who are actually registered and affiliated and part of a governing body. So most people, will have to do that, who haven't done like a course in, say, counselling. So I'm going to get shot again because I'm just going to say it. So here's the thing with counselling. You get some good counsellors, but counselling is about talking about your problems and not coming up with a solution. When you have a therapist, we're looking about keeping you, especially solution focused, but we're looking at keeping you forward focusing, where we're not here to re-traumatize you. So you come in and you talk about your problems and then you go out feeling worse. We're here about moving you forward.
yep.
So it's a skill, it's an art, and that normally comes with spending a ridiculous amount of money to train, to have it done, and years of knowledge. Unfortunately, it does not come from a 10-week course.
Yeah, yeah. And I think this is, I know you say you're going to get yourself shot, but I think this is really important information for people, isn't it? Because there'll be lots of people listening to this who possibly think, I need some support from a mindset perspective. May well be that they need mental health support, but they'll be thinking from a mindset perspective
Mm.
that might just look for somebody that they connect with or whatever else. But it's important, isn't it, to do that due diligence to make sure when you are working with something like mental health, you don't do that exact thing you just said, which is re-traumatizing yourself,
Yeah.
that you actually get it, you move forward from it. You actually don't, just spend 10 weeks going over and over and over and over everything that happened. You actually come up with a way
Mhm.
that enables you to either walk through it or on from it, isn't it? So I think it's important to have those conversations and to be honest and say there is people out there who are doing this job that probably shouldn't be or should be coming from a different perspective, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. Because the thing is, you'll get a lot of people who like to gas themselves up and give themselves titles, and it's like, well, that's fine. That's fine until you get somebody who. So there'll be so to stick a pin in that, there'll be business owners out there who need help with their mindset, and you know, might be traumatized from different things. If you got somebody, say, who's, oh God, they're getting hammered today, aren't they? Who's done a Udemy course, and they I'm going to guarantee that they don't know how to contain trauma, or help that person contain for when they leave, or have the skill set to realize when somebody's maybe disassociating. Because it doesn't, like you say, it doesn't have to be what we would assume is a mega trauma. It could be anything. But if somebody's disassociating in their business from a trauma, there's all sorts of problems going on there. There's all sorts of things happening. And if you get somebody who comes along and says and opens a can of worms and then like off you go, that could go left really quickly. That could even, and not being dramatic, lead to somebody just being like, do you know what? Let's just shut down. Let's stop this business. You know, it could just stop everything in its tracks.
Yeah. Yeah. And I
And
think
that's the risk.
yeah, it absolutely is. And I think that's the difference, isn't it, between to me, there's two camps here. There's the camp where it says it's about I need some positive affirmations, I need to do some journaling, I need to do some things that are just going to help to boost your mood, perhaps to make you feel a little bit more
Yes.
positive about yourself. There's that side, isn't it, of mindset, which
Yeah.
isn't going deep and delving into the reasons behind that. It's just helping to boost your mood a little bit to do that sort of stuff. But then there's
Mm,
the stuff that goes deeper, isn't it? And I think the minute it's going deeper, I think the advice here has to be do your research and make sure that you are using somebody who is actually qualified to do it, to actually go out and do that thing. And it's funny, isn't it? Titles are a funny thing. I get asked this a lot by clients. What shall I call myself? Am I a coach? Am I a mentor? Am I a strategist? Am I a therapist? Am I a coach? What actually do I call myself?
mm,
And and I think that that's quite a conversation. I could never call myself a coach because in my head,
mm.
I haven't trained to be a coach. And a coach is a
Yeah.
totally different role than somebody who is a strategist. I am
Yeah.
qualified as a strategist. I've done strategy all my life, but I am equally a mentor because I have walked the walk. I've done it. I've grown the business. So I can help you from a mentor point of view, but I could never actually call myself a coach. I tried it for a while because anybody can call themselves a coach, can't they? Without the
Yeah.
qualifications and everything else. Boy, did it sit uncomfortably with me. It really, really did sit uncomfortably with me. So I think that's the key, isn't
Mm.
it, for a title? It should be what you do, surely.
You would think so.
Yeah, you would, wouldn't you? Yeah. But anyway,
You
there
would
you
think
go.
so. I like, but that absolutely not. Absolutely, it's a bit like the mother hen story of like, picking all the corn and making the bread, and then everybody comes to eat the bread, but nobody wants to pick the corn. You'll get people who want that accolade or title so bad, but don't want to do the work.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
so, you'll get people who will be like, I can do that better than a nurse. And it's like, oh, really? Go spend your 3, 4 years at university, then come tell me something after that. Yeah. Go
Yeah.
on.
Would I want an unqualified surgeon to operate on my brain? I don't think so somehow. So why would you want them to do that from a healing perspective or from a therapeutic perspective? But anyway, I think that's a soapbox that I could join you on, because it was a real eye opener for me when I learned that. My assumption was, and the reason I wanted to let you talk about that is because I bet there's lots of other people who have that same assumption. Everybody that is using that title has been through everything that you have been through to enable you to earn that badge of honor, which is what it is, isn't it? It's something you've really worked hard to earn.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, though, what I will say is I do understand that when people want, when people are in a situation, all they want to know is how you can help them, which is cool. And I get that. You just want the pain, you want stuff to stop. But please, at some point, just do your due diligence and make sure that you know that they are safe and reputable.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Let's flip this round a little bit. So we assume these people have now done their due diligence and they know that, you are the right person to come and help them. From a business owner's perspective, why would a business owner come to a therapist?
Because we like magic. Well, I don't know about other ones, but I know I'm like magic.
Yep.
My uh my sweet spot or my whole career has led to me being really good at rapidly assessing somebody, rapidly getting to the core of the situation, and then fixing it or coming up with a solution. And that's because I just worked in high risk situations from from day dot. So when somebody is coming to a therapist who may be in business, there's genuinely there's a problem. There's a problem, and what we can't afford to have is it's taking forever and a day. So when people are, oh, I've been with my therapist for, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 months. What are you doing with therapist for that long? It's about getting in, solving the problem, and getting out. So if that problem is, like we say, trauma of any sort of degree, and that's the reason why they can't solve it, then what we do is we come in or I come in and we get to work on it really quickly so they can start looking at it like and changing their mindset or more changing their thought patterns, getting to the roots of the program because somewhere in there's a program because you've come to me because there's a problem, but there's a program in there that's stopping whatever result you want to get, whether that you want to show up more, and at the moment you're not showing up is resulting in you not um, having a lack of customers, or maybe you not showing up is resulting in you not presenting as authentic because you're not being vulnerable enough and you're not willing to like share parts of your story. Whatever it is that's stopping you, it's my job to find that program, switch it out, and then essentially help you be the best you and build that resilience, that confidence, and just show up as a badass bitch. That's just
Show up.
it.
I love that. Show up as a badass bitch. And I think there's something in there that, listening to what you were saying, is that you're not saying we need to know what the problem is. We just need to know that something is stopping us from doing something that we need to do, such as I'm going to take us to real basics here. I'm afraid to go live, or I'm not posting on social media because I don't want to talk about something. So we don't actually need to know that this is caused by something that happened
Yes.
back here. We just need to know that there's something that's stopping us doing something. And your job, if I'm understanding what you've just said correctly, is to either find what that thing is or find a way of moving you forward from that thing, regardless of what it is. Is that right? Have I just summarised that?
Yeah, yeah. So what I often say is when somebody comes to me, although they believe it's called what I call the polar bear. So they're looking at this thing and they're like, it's a problem, it's a problem. And I'm like, definitely isn't a problem, but that's cute. We'll play along. And then it's something else. So my job is to help you, guide you to see that you're looking at the polar bear when you should be looking at the pot on the fire. That's like totally going to burn down the house. And so I do it in a quick and gentle way. So we get there like really quickly, really effectively. And that you can just, because all you want is relief. That's all you want is relief from whatever problem it is. So I could say any symptom, whether it's like you wake up with a heaviness, things like I want to feel lighter. You wake up feeling like you've got the weight of the world on your shoulders, or you're so overwhelmed that you can't make a simple choice, or you can't put yourself, whatever it is that's happening. It's just my job to get in, solve it, and get out.
Fabulous. Absolutely amazing. So, if there's something going on in your business and you're not quite sure why, maybe what you need to be thinking about is working with somebody like Nicola to help you to find out what that is and come up with some ways to move it forwards. I always, always, always say when people ask me the question, what comes first, strategy or mindset, the two have to be done together. You can't have one without the other.
Yeah.
Best mindset in the world, if you haven't got the strategy, it still won't work. Best strategy in the world, if you haven't got the mindset, it still won't work. So the two absolutely do go hand in hand. So we're coming towards the end. As I do with all of my guests, Nicola, share with us a top tip.
A top tip. Always put yourself first and make sure that you have time scheduled. Bosses never cancel appointments on themselves. So schedule time to have self-care. And it doesn't always have to be bubble baths and all the rest of it, but to have that time out and to check in with yourself daily. So whether it's 5, 10 minutes or half an hour, but schedule in fun. Fun, relaxation leads way to innovation. So if you're dying from no innovation in your business, I'm gonna guarantee that you're not taking time out for you. So do it.
Love that. Schedule time in to check in on yourself. Great phrase. Absolutely love it. So, finally, if our listeners want to come and learn more about you, where's the best place for them to connect?
So on Facebook, so Nicola Noel, finally, at or Brainworks Therapy, and Brainworks Therapy on Instagram, and I'm Nicola Noel on LinkedIn. So that's where you'll find
Fabulous.
me.
And I will share all of that in the show notes for you as well. So thank you so much for joining me today, Nicola. It has been lovely chatting with you. And thank you to everybody else for listening. I will speak to you next time.